Hello, welcome everybody. We're going to get started here. My name is Gustavo Penengo from PRDG Architecture and Design. We're the architects for the Farwell home, and I'm also the homeowner for this beautiful house. And we wanted to just kind of touch on some of the green features of this home and the design approach to the project, which we felt was pretty unique. This site had some challenges, and I was going to walk you through kind of the construction process, highlight some of the features of this home, and then show you some finished photos and a video, and then we could be open for any questions or comments, etc. So welcome everybody.
And feel free to use the chat if you prefer not to share your voice with the recording or the rest of the group.
Yeah, and if you have any questions as they come up, please put them in the chat room, and Maria will ask those verbally, and we'll try to address them as much as possible. Okay, welcome. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what the site looks like. This project is in West Seattle. I don't know where most of you are from. You feel free to punch that into the chat so we're familiar with where you are. West Seattle is a small suburb of Seattle on the western side. We have views to the west of the Puget Sound and the mountains. And this was a little bit of this is a dead end lot which backed up onto a green belt. When I arrived on the property, this was a picture of it. It was completely overgrown with invasive blackberries, which is a very invasive species here in the Seattle area. They come and take over everything. And so there was about 10, 15 feet tall of about 30 years worth of blackberries, which was really challenging. And here you could see the string where we were trying to locate the property lines because everything was kind of lost in this kind of jungle of blackberries. We started to create some paths to identify what was there. We discovered there was this old historic madrona tree that was almost dying due to being choked by the blackberries. And there was another willow tree and a couple other significant trees. And it became our kind of objective to preserve these trees and work around them on the site. Here you can see we started to kind of clear some pathways. And this is when we first were able to free the madrona tree. And you can see on the right side there, it was almost completely dead. And you'll see in the later photos how we brought this beautiful tree back to life. So this was when we cleared the property. It was all done by hand. We didn't use any chemicals or pesticides, which was something that was really important. And we just slowly and meticulously removed all these incredible blackberries, found piles of garbage and junk everywhere. And it was pretty interesting scenario. Then several months later, we were able to stabilize the site and get the blackberries under control. We laid down some grass and stuff just to maintain erosion control as we developed the project. And here you could see after 1 year, the tree has some new growth. We mulched it, and to the right, there's a willow tree, which is another native historic tree. This was when construction started. We often build models for our projects to kind of really understand the site and some of the design features. And here you can see kind of the two trees that we wanted to really preserve and wrap our house around. And you'll see how the house kind of takes an L shape to preserve these. And here you can see those two big trees became kind of a focal point of our project. This was when excavation began. Again, we didn't touch most of the site and where those trees were to maintain it intact. We stabilized the site, put in some crushed rock as a structural base, and started putting in some drainage. And then our foundations went in. The front was backfilled with some structural fill so that the cars and access was stable. And then this home was actually built modular prefab in a factory, which has a lot of green features and abilities because of the controlled environment and we preserved resources. And it's also, the site wasn't disturbed for so long during a full-on construction site. So these are just some pictures of the factory. This is the site. The lower level had to be partially wood framed on site to then accept these modules and prefabricated components. And this is the house. Was broken into 5 modules. And so this is them taking shape in the factory. This was after a few months, the ground level was completed, and it kind of created this platform for these modules to come in. You could see the L shape of the home here, which orients west for the view and also wraps itself around this beautiful madrona tree. And you could already see the thing starting to come back to life and is becoming lush, and it's become kind of our proud features. The home was built using very green approaches, from the building wraps to window systems to insulation. We had a very, very sophisticated envelope to maintain energy efficiency. And a lot of this was built in a factory, never getting wet or exposed to the elements, which is part of the benefits of modular prefab construction. We installed a 2,500 gallon cistern to capture rainwater, which we use for irrigation during the drought month of August in this area. And it's proven this is the 4th year we'll be using that. And this captures about enough water to water the landscaping for about the month of August, which also has some cost savings. This was the day of the install for the modular units. The whole installation occurred in one day. So the crane came and set up. These are the modules that came wrapped from the factory and slowly started being lifted into place onto the site. You can see the building wrap is already on there. And so the building is already technically partially waterproofed the day it's being installed. That's the second level being put on. And this was at the end of the first day. The entire home is pretty much assembled. The roofing membrane was already on it. So that day they made the final seals. So technically the house was waterproof the day it was installed. Inside insulation and the vapor barriers were already put in. We used Intellimento Pro Klima product from Germany, which is a high-end vapor open barrier. And this is a 2-layer system. So you have an exterior vapor barrier and an interior vapor barrier that are vapor open. So the idea is that during the winter, the house, if there's any moisture in the house or in the structure, it dries inward towards the house. And in the summer months where it's dry, any moisture dries outward through the membrane, but it's also waterproof. So from the inside, for example, in a shower, it won't allow water to go into the cavity and it'll preserve it. But if there is water in it, it can escape. And so it's, here you can see the level of finish. In some of these modular projects, sometimes they're completely sheetrocked and finishes installed. Due to time constraints, we took it just to the insulation level here, but wiring, plumbing, everything was already installed. Here you could see again the tree being preserved and how the house kind of wraps around. It doesn't touch the root balls or anywhere near it to protect it. We had an arborist on hand in case we encountered any roots to ensure that it was protected. And then finishes started going in. Here you could see the deck cantilevers out so that again, it doesn't bear on anywhere near the tree to protect it. A year after construction, we installed a 27 solar panel array on the roof, which has gotten us very close to almost being a net zero home as far as the production. And you can see here that the health of the tree. We also didn't plant any grass or fancy landscaping. We used only native drought resistance grasses, heather, and all types of plants like that, which have all now become very robust. There's ferns that we've naturally planted throughout the landscape, which has now, we've pretty much taken care of all the blackberries, and we're recreating kind of the Pacific Northwest forest setting with this undergrowth of ferns, grasses, et cetera, that are all native, Oregon grape, et cetera. And so that is the site for us. We have a short little video kind of showing kind of the finished product, which we will show you. And then I'm going to go into some finished photos and maybe some floor plans to show. Actually, why don't we go to the floor plan so you guys can see kind of how this project sits on the site. So you can see here, this is the property. This is the perimeter. This is the extent of the property here. And these two green features here are, this is the madrona tree and that willow tree. And you can see that the home has taken this kind of L shape to very strategically wrap itself around those trees. The garage had to pop forward, and we were able to get a variance for that so that it'd be closer to the street and not intrude into the site. And then this angle was created, the front angle was created because it's parallel to the front setback. And so we were very successfully able to achieve that and also preserve all this as natural green space, which is where all those ferns and kind of native growth has been established. If we go to the floor plans, this is the lower level, which is technically almost like a daylight basement because the site slopes down this way. So the front area here, this is kind of retaining for the front of the house. And we have the garage here. And this is kind of a back basement level. This is a lower kind of entertainment space for the kids to play. It's kind of like a playroom. And then there's a guest suite here on the lower level. This is a lower deck over here. The madrona tree kind of sits over here. And then there's a cistern sitting under this deck here where we collect our rainwater. And over here, we have our rain garden. All of the rainwater from this home, which is part of the stormwater code in the city of Seattle, requires that all of your rainwater needs to be captured on the home and filtered through a bioretention or some sort of green feature. And so we have this large planter, the bioretention planter with some native plants in it. So all the rainwater goes through there, it filters, and then goes out into the storm system so that it's non-polluted and clean for the environment. Going on to the main level, the way the house sits in a vertically on the site was really important because number one, for access for the car, we had a 1-car garage. Because of the size of the site, we didn't want to do a 2 or 3 car garage. The entries here, and the idea is that you enter at ground level into the main space, which is here. And then that main space is all about the views out to the water. And then to this tree here kind of anchors itself in kind of a courtyard. We have a kitchen, dining, living room, all in one rectangular space, this was one module, just to give you a sense of scale. And then off of that is a little mudroom that connects the garage to the living space and a small powder room. This is a deck facing west, which is where the views are. And that deck, through all these glass sliding doors, creates a really nice inside-outside connection. Onto the upper level. So the 2 top floors, which are the main living spaces, are about 2,600 square feet for a 4-bedroom home, which we feel is pretty efficient. You come up the stairs. This is a master suite over here, which encompasses a walk-in closet, a full master bath, and then the master bedroom with a small deck, again, facing the view west. Then we go down the central corridor. And the idea of the corridor, that there's always windows at the ends to create a really nice open and light feel. This home during the daytime does not require the lights to be on pretty much in every room because of the amount of daylight that we achieved. There's 1 bedroom here, 1 bedroom here, a bath, another bedroom, and then a 3rd bedroom. I have 2 children, and then this acts as a guest bedroom here. And then on the roof, we were able to, with the modern design, we're able to have a nice flat roof. This was a little pop-up clear story, which has an access stair, so we can get up to the roof. And here you can see the solar panel arrays that are perfectly placed facing south, which gives us optimal exposure. Okay, I will go now to some pictures. Okay, I'm going to do a short little video that kind of just shows us the finished product and enhances some of the pictures, and then I'll go to some of the finished product and some other things. Here we go. You can see that the landscape has started to take shape and fill itself in the front especially, and eventually that'll all become expansive ground cover, and in between we just have wood chips. Really important that every room and every part of the house is always natural daylight and always have connection to the outside. There's never any dark corridors or dark spaces anywhere. I'm going to go to some of the finished photos now. So here you can see the front yard, how all these kind of ground cover has started to spread itself out and around the house. And it's really, really beautiful how all the natural plants have kind of taken shape here. And the blackberries have pretty much disappeared. Naturally, we were able to get rid of them. They're really difficult to manage, but we were able to achieve that. The lower level of this home is, the material is Corten steel, which naturally rusts. And that created this kind of natural organic feel that grounds the house to the site. And then the upper volume, which is white, kind of floats and is kind of very pure. Here you can see the 27 solar panels that are situated to the south. I just looked up the metering, and since February of 2019, which is a little over 2 years, we've been able to produce 25 megawatts of electricity. We use only about 20% of what this generates, and the rest is put back into the natural grid for the neighbor and the neighborhoods to use. We're very proud of that feature. Here you can see the rear, how the site slopes down, and all these decks are west facing, and you can see the madrona tree there on the left. On the bottom center there, you can see the bioretention cell where all the rainwater is captured and then filtered through. And here you can see kind of how the landscape wraps itself around, and this tree kind of becomes the sculpture center for the house. And from the main deck here, you can see how there's always a really nice connection to nature and to the outside. Here's from the main deck, looking out towards the water. And again, you can see the rear. We provided these cantilevers, west and south facing, which really helps shading for sun during the summer. Like I mentioned, I mentioned earlier to one of the guests, we don't need air conditioning, although Seattle doesn't really need air conditioning. It is getting a lot warmer here. The house, due to its natural shading and where the location of the windows are, has really great natural ventilation, even during the hot days. Here you can see how the expansive glass always connects you outside, and how the inside and outside become one through the deck and these sliding doors. And there's that beautiful madrona tree kind of angling, and whoever's not familiar with madrona trees, they grow kind of twisted and curvy, and it's almost like a piece of sculpture, which is really beautiful. Again, you can see the inside and outside connection from the kitchen to the outdoor dining area. And then that cantilever on the upper right creates shelter during any light rain, so you can still sit out there. Here's the main living space from the kitchen to the dining room to the living room. You can see, again, one big, simple open space with an open stair, and all the windows are to the greenery and to the view. This is from the other end looking back. And again, this floor is about 1,000 square feet, which was able to encompass a full living space and have all the uses needed in such a small footprint. Here's the kitchen, a lot of built-in cabinetry with plenty of storage. There's no secondary refrigerators or anything, because everything's able to be stored and used in this one kitchen. This is the master bedroom, again, with this deck to the outside. And so these large expanse windows connect the inside to the outside really well. You can see up here on the left, this is one of the key features for the ventilation of the home, which is the Lunos system. And these are Hrv ventilators. And so the home, this is, if you're not familiar with it, basically every bedroom and living space has these ventilators in it, which are fans that are controlled and alternate in and out, so there's always constant fresh air in this home. The home was built so energy efficient that we needed to have a mechanical ventilation to ensure that there was natural fresh air all the time. This is from the master deck, looking back out towards the property. You can see how the madrona tree just kind of climbs itself up and around the house, and the house actually wraps itself around that tree. These are the bathrooms. We used sustainable materials as much as possible, bamboo floors, recycled woods, and we used some porcelain tile in some areas. So the master closets. This is that main hallway connecting all the bedrooms on the second floor. You can see how there's light at the end of the hallways on either end. And so there's always natural light coming in everywhere. And it creates a very simple, clean connection without long, windy corridors. These are the kids' bedrooms, again, with nice windows that connect you to the outside. Bathrooms as well. We like to put high windows in there to allow that natural light to come in. And you can see that almost from every room, that madrona tree kind of becomes this focal point, which is really beautiful. This is the end bedroom, which is our guest bedroom. And that's where we really wanted to enhance the views and these large windows for that reason. Here you can see the bamboo floors and the open tread stairs that keeps the space really open. This is the powder room. Again, high window for privacy, but always allowing natural light to come in. And here's a photo of the front, and you can see kind of how all that landscape is starting to become lush and fill the ground cover, opposed to conventional grass lawn that requires fertilizing and mowing, etc. This is a drought-resistant landscape, which after the first 2 years didn't require any more irrigation, and it just naturally grows. Some of these plants have beautiful flowers in the fall and the winter, which creates kind of this ever-changing landscape that's very natural.
Hey, Gustavo.
Yes.
We have a question from Jacqueline, and she's asking, what's the decking material that you used?
The decking material, we were going to use a composite decking, and this was actually an interesting solution. We ran out of budget, and so that's actually plywood that has been stained, and it's already on its 5th year and has survived. The original specification was to use a composite recycled bamboo decking material, but the budget didn't allow it, and so we did a temporary plywood stained, exterior plywood stained, which is what we have currently.
And we also have another question from Richard asking, which window manufacturer did you go with?
We used Lindsay, which is a vinyl local company that does custom vinyl windows, and they have an exterior painted, or now they actually have a black extrusion. So these are vinyl, double glazed, high efficiency, 0.28 minimum U values so that we meet the energy code requirements. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions. You can find our links, and be glad to discuss any other details for this house. And we usually do tours during this tour, which is nice to see this house in person and feel and touch things. And if you're interested in touring this home, you can reach out to us and we can try to arrange that for you. We do give tours to clients during COVID using, adhering to COVID regulations and masks. And so we're able to showcase the home and show it to you. If you're interested, reach out to us. If you're interested in some of the special features, we'd love to explain them to you further. We're very proud and take a lot of pride in what we've accomplished here. And actually, I was going to show you a feature here, kind of our solar. Like I was saying, we produced 25 megawatts of electricity in the last 2 years. This is an example of April 29th of this year when we had a real nice sunny day. We produced 55 kilowatts. We only consumed 10. The whole house is wired with LED low consumption lights. We have high efficiency refrigerators and appliances. And so you could see here that on this day, we generated 55 kilowatts. We only consumed 9.33, and we exported almost 46 kilowatts back to the grid, which Seattle City Light distributes to the local neighborhood. And we actually get a tax credit for providing that extra electricity. With today's technology, you can log into these apps and see how your solar panels are doing every single day. And let me tell you, it's really exciting to see what you're producing and what you're providing for the earth on a daily basis. It's really satisfying. It's one of the proudest things we have here.
We have another question from Adam asking, how has the Lunos system performed up till now?
The Lunos system, I'll be honest, I've been really impressed with it. You know, I was mentioning to someone I suffer from allergies and things like that, and I tell you, I noticed that the air quality in the home is exceptional. It always feels fresh. There's never like stagnant air. If we cook or the house has some smells, we can turn up the Lunos system to a higher volume, and within 10 or 15 minutes, the house is purged of all the air. I'm super impressed by the level of fresh air and air quality in the home. We change the filters regularly. I just learned that this past year, Lunos came out with a HEPA filter, which is a high level filter, which even enhances things further from an air quality perspective. And I was also mentioning to someone that during the wildfires we had a couple of years ago here, we had all our windows and doors shut. We ran the Lunos at a very low speed, and it was able to maintain much better air quality inside the home than outside during the terrible air quality of the forest fires.
Do you hear the Lunos?
It's very, very subtle. It's about the same sound of like a computer fan. And if your fans are maintained and cleaned regularly, they're pretty much silent. Only if you stand up right next to it, do you hear a very, very minor hum. But other than that, you basically don't even notice them, especially on the low setting, which is what mine run on all the time. The only time we turn it up if we want enhanced ventilation. And it even has a summer mode where you put it on super high and it really pushes air through the house and ventilates, which is really nice. Any other questions? Anyone want to see anything else? We want to go back to any of the photos, let us know, and we'd be glad to share them. I'll put up some of the photos again so that you guys can see. Here you can see this was right after the first year where the landscape hadn't quite been filled yet. And then later you can see how it's all been enhanced.
We have a question from Adam asking about the heating system that you used.
We have a high energy, we have a high efficiency hybrid on-demand hot water, which uses, we have radiant floor heating in the home. So we have radiant floor heat, and that also provides that hot water for the home. It is gas powered, but very high efficiency. Our energy bill in the winter is about $120 a month for a 3,600 square foot home. Because of the tight envelope, the radiant heat barely turns on during the winter, just very subtle at very short frequencies, and it maintains the home really, really comfortable. And then the hot water from the same boiler is on demand, and so it's only while it's being used. And we've seen incredible low consumption of resources when we use that.
This is interesting. Aloha asked if you've noticed that you've become more sensitive to pollutants because of the Lunos system.
You know, I'll be honest, we visit homes all the time because we design them. And you know, when you walk into a home that's kind of stagnant and has that musty kind of smell, you notice that so quickly. Whereas in this home, whenever you walk in, there's never any smells or odors. It's always just fresh. And that's something that's really dramatic, and I always recognize. You don't smell off-gassing. We used a lot of green materials here, Novio C paints, and so this home never had any off-gassing or smells of construction from the day we moved in. And if there were, I would say that the Lunos system probably helps kind of purge that regularly because it's constantly exchanging air through the house.
And do you measure, for your hot water plumbing, do you measure demand recirculation, or do you have any other measure to get like quick hot water?
We have a recirculating pump for the hot water system. And so as soon as you turn it on, within a few seconds, you have hot water at all the locations. And by recirculating it as well, no hot water is wasted because it goes back into the loop and gets reheated, which is great.
Have you ever felt like you ran out? I mean, I don't know how long your kids take.
No, we've never run out. I have 2 children, 2 boys and adults, and I've never ever run out of hot water. For a 4-bedroom home, I've never had any issues when multiple people are showering at the same time.
Thanks, Gustavo. A question about the modular
Yes.
modules. Yeah, were they built locally? How far
Yes,
away
they
were
were built. Yep, they were built in Washington, about an hour away, up in Burlington, Washington.
Oh.
And so the transport and all that was pretty short, which obviously adds to, you know, some of the green factors for us. In some cases, modules are built across the country, and so the carbon footprint to transport them is pretty large. This is only like, I don't know, 30, 40 miles away, so it happened pretty quickly.
So with this company, you could feed into them your design and they built it, or you had to
Exactly.
stop?
Yeah, we just,
Okay.
yep, we designed the entire house from scratch, knowing that it was going to be modular. We built about 10 modular homes at our firm. And so we specifically designed it and they were able to build it. This outfit was a higher end custom modular company. So they were able to do some of the higher end features from an energy and green standpoint that we wanted, compared to your standard modular, you know, the 2-wide trailer type of establishment. So we were able to kind of customize this thing, and with our experience, we're able to design the home using those proportions that are very critical in modular construction.
Thanks.
Were able to build off site, how long was the construction time and how much time do you think you cut off going that route?
Yeah, in a perfect world where a project is scheduled and coordinated properly, the goal of modular construction is to create efficiencies. And so ideally, while you're building the foundation, you could start building the modules in the factory. And so there'll be a 2-3 month overlap there where you save time on construction. Also, in a conventional home, there's about a month and a half of framing where you have a couple of carpenters building this home from the ground up. In the factory, you have several crews where in a large production factory can assemble this house in a couple of weeks, as opposed to a couple of months on site. And so I'd say that if it's scheduled and coordinated properly, you could probably save 3 or 4 months in the schedule. And that's mostly during the framing part of the project. Now, on some of the larger scale modular companies, we did a home in New York, which was 10 modules, and that was built in 10 days, including the finishes, because that's done in an assembly line approach where, you know, on the first day, the whole box is built. The second day, the electrical and the plumbing goes in. The third day, the finishes and the sheetrock start going in. The 4th, 5th days, the cabinets. And so there's super high efficiencies to doing it that way. This factory took 2 or 3 months to build the modules, and that was while the site was being built with the concrete and that kind of lower level. So in a well-managed project, you can definitely save time and potentially some costs as well.
Thank you. Beautiful house.
Thank you very much.
We have another question from Andrew in the chat asking if you could discuss the HVAC system more.
Yeah, so we have, there is no HVAC in the house. We have an HRV, which is a heat recovery ventilators. So every bedroom and every living space has these fans that circulate air between rooms. So for example, if you have 4 bedrooms, 2 and 2 are paired together. So the last 2 bedrooms, those fans every 30 seconds switch direction. So one fan will intake, one will exhaust, and then after 30 seconds, they switch direction. And so there's constantly fresh air being pumped through all the rooms throughout the whole house. That's the fresh air component. The heating is a radiant floor heat with a high efficiency boiler. And so because the building envelope is so tight, we needed that mechanical ventilation to ensure that there's fresh air all the time. And then those ventilators also recover the heat, so they don't exhaust the heat out. They actually keep it inside the house. The fans retain the heat and put it back into the cold air so that you're not losing the heat. And then the radiant floor heat heats the house. And because the house is so efficient and the envelope is so efficient, it requires very little energy to heat it. So it just turns on a couple of times a day and the house maintains temperature really nicely.
Becky has asked, what angle are your solar panels at?
Um,
And if
I-
you have any recommendation?
That was recommended by the solar installer. I want to say it's 15 degrees, but I'm not sure, but I can confirm that. If you email us, I can validate that for you. Usually what they do is the solar company will look at the orientation of your home and its location graphically, like for example, Seattle, and they have a program. They have a program that lets you establish what the perfect angle is for your location specifically. Obviously, you want them pointing south and they're spaced so that they don't shadow each other, but the angle they determine based on the geographic location.
Rebecca has asked if you could talk some more about materials used. I'm assuming for like the whole house. She's mentioning flooring, paint brand, decking. For someone that would be looking into remodeling their home.
We use the strand woven bamboo floors, which is an engineered bamboo floor using sustainable bamboo, which is one of the greenest woods or products out there. We used Sherman-Williams no VOC paint throughout the house. These cabinets were by a manufacturer that uses as much recycled product as possible. The countertops are quartz, which is a man-made stone using recycled quartz rock. And obviously that's one of the most durable finishes you can use these days for a countertop. What else? The rugs and carpets are usually sustainably sourced with wool. In some areas, we use Havelock wool insulation. We wanted to use it throughout the whole house, but it's the cost just didn't work out for us. Some of the cabinets use recycled wood products. The exterior is made with hardy cement panels, which is a LEED certified product sometimes. And some of these materials were sourced at a local company who's also a sponsor of the Green Home Tour, which is Green Home Solutions out of Ballard, near Ballard. They're an amazing resource. We use them all the time. It's almost a one-stop shop for floors, countertops, tile, you name it, siding materials, etc. And all of their products are green and sustainably sourced. And they're an amazing resource. I recommend them highly. Green Home Solutions, they're sponsor of the tour every year, and I recommend visiting them. They're just a wonderful resource. And they helped us source several of the materials that we used on this project. Also, a lot of our plumbing fixtures are, excuse me, water saving and high efficiency. The toilets are dual flush, meaning that you have 2 different flushes depending of if you need a lot of water or a little bit. What else? A lot of the products, grouts, caulks, adhesives are no VOC or low VOC, no formaldehyde in the cabinetry. These are all, we tried to use as much green products as possible. I would say that if we had submitted this for a LEED certification, we probably would have reached platinum level as far as all the features that this home has from an energy and green perspective.
Out of curiosity, was there a reason that you didn't try to get it LEED certified?
It costs money. You have to pay for all the certifications. And since I was the owner and the architect, I didn't need the physical certificate. We know what it is and what it has. And so we feel that we're responsible enough to meet all the requirements. Maybe if we were to sell it one day, we may get that just to have it as a physical certificate. But I would say that in a lot of our projects, we try to implement as much green and LEED standards as possible. The certification is more for commercial buildings where they need to have that kind of, that certificate kind of, or placard exhibited. Whereas for us, we take pride in knowing that we did it.
Rebecca has said that she thanks you for the tour and information and that she thinks your home is stunningly beautiful.
Thank you very much. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We love sharing these kind of projects with the world.